Heartbreak. It's one of the few pains you can't see, yet it breaks you from the inside out. It shatters your rhythm. Your thoughts turn into noise, and suddenly the world feels distant, as if you've stepped outside your own life. You tell yourself you're fine. You tell everyone you're moving on. But deep down, you feel hollow, like your emotions were drained out of you. What most people don't realize is that this emotional distance is not weakness. It's survival. It's your brain doing what it's designed to do: protect you. When you experience heartbreak, your brain doesn't see it as sadness. It sees it as a threat to your identity, to your security, to your very existence. And like any threat, it reacts. Neuroscientists have discovered that emotional pain lights up the exact same regions as physical pain: the anterior cingulate cortex and the insula, the same circuits that react when you cut your hand or break a bone. That's why heartbreak doesn't just hurt metaphorically, it literally hurts. Your body thinks it's under attack. Your heart races, you lose your appetite. Sleep becomes impossible. You replay memories like a broken film reel, over and over. Your brain is trying to make sense of something that doesn't make sense. And in that chaos, it decides on one strategy: distance. At first, it feels like shock, disbelief. Then it becomes numbness. You stop feeling anything at all. It's not because you've stopped caring. It's because your brain has had enough. When the emotional system is overloaded, it triggers a kind of shutdown. Endorphins are released to dull the pain. Norepinephrine floods your system to help you stay alert, but detached. You might feel like a ghost, walking through your own life, disconnected from everyone and everything. That numbness is not your heart dying. It's your mind protecting itself. Think of it like this: if you touch fire and get burned, your body learns to pull away before you get hurt again. The same thing happens with emotional fire. Your brain distances itself so you don't keep burning in the same pain. But there's something even deeper happening behind that numbness: a rewiring. Because heartbreak doesn't just take away a person, it takes away a reward system. Love floods the brain with dopamine and oxytocin, the chemicals of pleasure, connection, and safety. Every hug, every text, every moment together, it's a hit of those chemicals. Your partner becomes your emotional drug. And when that drug disappears, your brain goes into withdrawal. You crave the high. You replay the memories. You check your phone. You wonder if they're thinking about you. You're not weak. You're addicted. And like any addiction, your brain must learn to stop chasing what it can no longer have. So it distances itself. It cuts the emotional supply line. It starts the process of detox. That's why you suddenly feel disconnected, not just from them, but from everyone. It's your brain rewiring itself to operate without that constant emotional hit. But here's the truth most people never understand: that emotional detachment, that feeling of nothingness, is actually the first step towards strength. Because pain, when processed correctly, turns into power. And numbness is the bridge between the two. You see, heartbreak doesn't just destroy relationships, it destroys identities. When you love deeply, your brain merges that person into your self-concept. Your routines, your decisions, your emotional balance all become tied to them. So when they leave, your brain loses its structure. It asks, "Who am I without them?" And for a while, there's silence. That silence is terrifying. It feels like losing yourself. But it's not loss, it's rebirth. Because in that silence, you start to hear your own thoughts again. You start to rebuild boundaries, priorities, and strength. That's why heartbreak, as painful as it is, often leads to the most powerful transformations. It forces the brain to evolve, to stop depending on external validation, to stop chasing comfort, and to start creating internal stability. This is why people who've been through real heartbreak often change permanently. They stop begging for love. They stop tolerating disrespect. They stop living for others' approval. Because once your brain learns detachment, it never forgets it. At first, that emotional distance feels like loneliness, but over time it becomes clarity. And clarity is dangerous because it shows you how much of your pain came from your own illusions. You realize that the person you loved wasn't always what your mind painted them to be. You start to see the manipulation, the imbalance, the emotional dependency you once ignored. And with every realization, you become colder. Not because you hate, but because you finally see. Detachment is vision, and vision is freedom. Your brain knows this. It doesn't distance itself because it's weak. It distances itself so it can observe, so it can understand, so it can rebuild. This is the moment most people mistake for depression, but it's actually transformation. You stop reacting emotionally and you start analyzing. You begin to think in silence, to move in solitude. And that's where true emotional evolution begins. You learn to stop chasing temporary highs. You learn to control your thoughts before they control you. You learn that love is not something you lose, it's something you redirect. The distance becomes your armor. It gives you space to see who deserves your energy and who doesn't. It gives you power to act with intention, not impulse. Because when your emotions no longer control you, you become unpredictable. And unpredictability is power. There's something darkly beautiful about that shift. The moment you realize you don't need closure, you don't need revenge, you don't need them to understand. You simply walk away, quietly, completely, and without explanation. That's the energy of emotional evolution. You stop explaining your pain to people who caused it. You stop seeking healing from the ones who broke you. You start depending only on the one thing that never leaves you, your own mind. And when that happens, heartbreak loses its grip. Because the same brain that once cried over them becomes the same brain that forgets them. And the beautiful, terrifying truth is this: the brain is ruthless when it decides to heal. It will erase feelings, memories, even the emotional meaning of someone's name, if that's what it takes to survive. So if you feel like you've gone cold, if you feel detached, empty, or numb, understand this. That is not your heart dying. That is your brain protecting your evolution. You are becoming the version of yourself that doesn't break when people leave. The version that sees emotion as a tool, not a master. The version that can love deeply but never depend completely. Heartbreak is not the end of love. It's the purification of it. It burns away the weakness, the fantasy, the emotional addiction, until only truth remains. And once you've seen that truth, you can never unsee it. You become colder, but wiser, quieter, but stronger, detached, but unshakable. Your mind learns the one rule of survival: never attach your peace to something that can disappear. That is the essence of the dark mindset. Pain becomes fuel, solitude becomes strength, and distance becomes clarity. So the next time you feel your brain pulling away after heartbreak, don't fight it. Don't chase. Don't force yourself to feel. Let it distance you. Let it protect you. Let it rebuild you in silence. Because eventually, that silence becomes power. And when it does, you'll look back at your heartbreak and realize it was never destruction. It was transformation. Your brain distances itself not because it's broken, but because it's evolving. Pain forces detachment. Detachment breeds clarity, and clarity creates power. Stay cold, stay conscious, and rise from the ashes of what once burned you.